Plenty to talk about there.
I'd like to talk about this idea that what I'm noticing with all that's going on with the social justice wars, with political correctness, and all the violence, the Antifa, people like Yvette Falarca over in West San Francisco, I think, and all this violence, and is the overall pattern that I'm seeing is that this is a plan from the ruling power structure to turn what started out in the Occupy movement as people versus the institutional centers of power, to turn it from that back to people versus people, like racism against each other, people on a lower level, and economic class struggle amongst the people, not against the 1%, okay? And sexism and violence towards it's people versus people. That's a very big concept that
But
needs
it's definitely it's true. It's because they want us to go against the people who are one rung on the ladder higher than they are, higher than we are, rather, so that we don't go up to the person who's holding the ladder and pulling up the ladder so that we can't climb up the damn thing.
Yeah.
It's keeping people at each other's throats so we don't rip out theirs.
Yeah, we need to explore that because this idea of that CNN, it's like what they tried to do with the big white nationalist threat, the Nazi threat, dude. There is no Nazi threat in America. There are no Nazis. There are 400 Nazis in the largest Nazi organization.
But there were 25 people at the Unite the Right
I
rally.
know, big threat, right?
I'm scared of those 25 people.
The bottom line is in a population of 300 million people, 400 Nazis is not enough. And then they go, oh, and then the big Nazi hunters. First of all, anyone who describes themselves as a Nazi hunter is a narcissistic idiot, and it's just like an ego-driven jerk-off, right? And a do-nothing person because there's no Nazis.
There's no harm there because there are no Nazis for them to hunt.
Yeah.
So all they have to do is...
This is Yvette Falarca, who is this woman who is this diminutive, like mousy...
She's supposed to be some public school teacher or something.
Yeah, she's this like she's pretending that she's for the underclass. She's being a mousy, diminutive woman means that you're in the most privileged class, actually, because there's no one's going to go against that because the laws are so tight. So it's not like she ever faced any discrimination by being a mousy, vaguely.
Well, she's vaguely ethnic, right? And
I think she's Asian of some variety, but I don't really know. But I think it's Asian. I think she is somewhere.
Falarca sounds Hispanic. I don't know.
Maybe a Filipino or something. I don't really know. But the bottom line is that she didn't suffer any discrimination, just like the New York Times woman who was the anti-white woman.
Oh my God, that woman!
Yeah.
What the fuck?
If these people are trying to con you into thinking that they were suffering at the hands of the white male, they're just full of shit. So the bottom line is that these people are the foot soldiers of the ruling power structures. They work for the billionaires, whether they know it or not. They're such suckers. And the Yvette Falarca, I could show you. First of all, she's a low IQ person, but I could show you it's pure narcissism. Like when she gets on, when she did an appearance on
Tucker
Carlson. Whenever she talks about violence against Nazis, she has this like smug little smirk comes on her eye, and she's signaling to her cadre. They're very sketchy people. Her and her clan over there, and then she was with that guy who did the bike lock attacks, smashing people over the head that they don't even know who these people are.
They do it in the back of their head, and so it's like the guy turns around and what? You got the wrong guy. What are you gonna do? Apologize to him while he's fucking in the hospital bleeding out from a fucking head wound? It's really fucking terrible.
Narcissistic, ego-driven idiots, and to prove
they're cowardly. They fucking come up behind a person with a bike lock.
There's no Nazi threat, and when you tell them that the New York Times, I shouldn't quote New York Times, it's fake news, but whatever, in 2014 said there's only 400 of them, the largest, the National Socialist...
And that's the New York Times, so you know it's probably even lower.
That's right. National Socialist movement, neo-Nazis, his largest group is 400. So the bottom line is that there's literally like 0.0001% of the population. And they say, well, Hitler was only one person. Dude, the conditions in Weimar, post Versailles Germany, I'm sorry, were very, very different than the conditions in the United States.
Getting here quickly. Once they crash the market in October, we're all going to be wheeling around wheelbarrows full of dollars, and then maybe Sarah Jiang will have something to talk about. But as it is now, I mean, I find it hilarious that, like, I think it was Candace Owens, like, posted a thing that put Sarah Jiang's racist tweets against white people, because contrary to popular belief, you can actually be racist against white people.
It's okay.
It's okay, but you can do it. And so she just replaced the word white in all of those tweets with the word Jew or Jewish, and she was banned from Twitter.
Yeah, that's right.
For pointing out the racism of the New York Times editor.
Sure. It's
so
unbelievable. That's
really insane, right? Like, this is not exactly what we want in a society. No. However, this is what we got.
Well, I mean, I guess, like racism now and bigotry against white people and Christians. And don't get me wrong, like, I lived through the 1980s, so I know the abuses of when the Christian conservative coalition gets its power. And so, in a way, Christians can look back in the 1980s and blame them for why there's a backlash against Christian political power. Yeah, I support that, because we know what happens. I mean, if the Christians of 1980 could have had the rack and the what are some of the boiling people,
the Iron Maiden,
boiling
the wheel,
people,
the fucking the Catherine
tarred
wheel,
feathers.
No, they would have done all that shit.
And so
they really have, for the most part, only themselves to blame.
Yeah. So I don't.
Vengeance.
That doesn't. But
doesn't excuse it.
Oddly, I find myself like actually sort of like defending Christians now, because in a way, to be fair, there are some nice people that are Christians. Period. I mean, I've met some. I have some in my family, and honest to God, they're just pretty sweet people. So,
and at least they'll have an argument with you. I mean, the social justice warriors and the Yvette Filarcas and the Sarah Jiangs will not have an argument with you. They'll send somebody to clock you with a bike lock, and because they have no argument.
Yeah. And give me the Alex Joneses any day over the Sarah Jiangs, because the bottom line is I don't get the feeling that guy would do violence actually against me. I just don't. Yeah. So the idea is that when you look at social justice warriors, when you look at what they're doing, just understand that none of them are going up against Raytheon. None of them are attacking Wall Street. None of them are going against the corrupt political class. They're going against their neighbor, the guy down the street, the cat caller, the so-called sexist, the racist.
Professor at the university, the administrator at the university. They're so nasty, those white men in suits, that are only making, maybe $80,000 a year.
No, yeah. Don't pay attention to the real threat, Wall Street. Nope. Just go against the even when I see this outrage against this critique on capitalism, it's a critique about the bourgeoisie, which is again the middle class schmuck. It's not a critique of capitalism should be a critique of Wall Street oligarchy, but it's not. It's about forgetting about the institutional large problem and focusing on the micro, not the macro. That's what's going on.
The little guy.
So that requires more discussion and more research from people that are doing it for a lot longer than us.
And see how it shifted between Occupy, when they shifted between going after Wall Street and going after the university professor.